Stanisci of Candid Frank Live. Welcome to the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV, channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate and leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. Now, on Candid Frank Live, joining me as usual is the one and only Aaron William Freeland. Hey, Aaron, how you doing, bud?
Doing good, Frank. Doing good. I see you're wearing Lions orange today.
Yeah, I was just at we just had it's really red, but it looks like orange. It's okay. We'll call it orange for today.
Sounds better.
It's the new orange, red.
It's blood orange.
So I just came out of a half-hour press conference with of course the BC Lions and their announcement of Michael Riley retiring. Now, it comes as no surprise. Anybody who's followed this show or the CFL Talk show, as you're well aware, I wasn't sure that he could make it one more year. He was physically, so physically challenged that he had to make a decision under the circumstances that he finds himself and the health concerns that all athletes have. And the biggest thing that I can say that makes it hard to come back is the road it takes even before training camp. People underestimate how hard football players have to work to get to training camp. Never mind get through training camp, to get to training camp. And that's a big thing to look forward to when you have a young family and you have options and other choices and you've made a little bit of change in the business. A little security financially can help you to make a decision that, in my opinion, in this case, was a decision for the responsibility of his own personal health.
Well, I think at the age of 36, he's more than put in enough time to warrant, taking his rest, as it were. He's 14th overall on the all-time passing list in passing yards at 34,805. He led the league in passing on 4 different occasions, twice with Edmonton in his final season this season with BC. And he's only the third quarterback in CFL history to surpass the 5,000-yard mark in 3 consecutive seasons from 2016, 17, and 18. Flutie and Calvillo, coincidentally, are the only 2 that would be able to duplicate that feat. So he's in rather august company. I don't think anybody would begrudge him taking his retirement now.
Now he has won all, like you said, all the awards, that a quarterback or a CFL player can get. He has had his name etched in all the important trophies. And one of the most important trophies, twice etched, is his name on the Grey Cup. And that's something that retirement is one of the reasons why some players will hold out on retirement on the hope that they can finally get their name on the Grey Cup. As important as it is to be an MOP, the best player, well-respected, scoring records, defensive records, all those wonderful things. The one thing that every athlete wants is their name on the championship trophy. So he's had it on there twice. And I think, he's been there and done that. And nobody in the BC Lions, both the GM and the coach, made it very clear that people understand that they're very proud of Michael and the fact that he's able to literally walk away from the game. So, it was under his terms, no one else's, and not even his body's. So he's made a decision, and good for him. So I hope I make the point again and underline the fact that this was a great football player who felt his time had arrived, and everybody's entitled to that. He owes no one anything.
No, and certainly BC Lions football will be that much richer for the legacy that he leaves behind, and at the same time that much poorer for the skills that he takes with him into his retirement. So best of luck to Mike Riley wherever he may be.
And his future endeavor of maybe being a fireman, where he started in Texas to learn about being a fireman, and he'll be moving to Seattle, and the league and the team specifically noted that they look forward to his returning and coming for a visit. Is TSN watching? They just lost Barker. And I can tell you that Mike is okay with the media. He likes that. At every Grey Cup, I ran into him, and it got to be a joke between him and I. Everywhere I go, he'd be there. I turn around, there's Michael Riley. Sorry, well, he was Mike Riley then. And so, he has a bit of a liking and an interest in the media. So don't be surprised if he doesn't turn up there on at least a short term, at least in British Columbia, and maybe as much as TSN, and of course nationally for TSN. Congratulations to Mike Riley on his retirement, and wish him all the best, as Aaron said, as you are correct. Let's talk about hockey and the Toronto Maple Leafs. And two things to mention here, two things that became clear in the last game the Toronto Maple Leafs played. Mrazek's not that bad a goalie, and Riley is more important than maybe many of us realize.
Well, Morgan Riley had himself a goal and an assist, or 2/3 of a Gordie Howe hat trick. And Peter Mrazek stopped 25 of 26 shots. Admittedly, we have been working with a rather small sample size when it comes to Peter Mrazek and his experience with the Leafs, notwithstanding his time in Carolina. Before that, I think the most experience the Leafs had facing him was when Kyle Clifford ran him over in that wonderful game there where we had the Zamboni driver go in and pull the plug on us. But the good news is Morgan Riley showed up and played well. Mitch Marner and Pierre Engvall also had markers, which was awesome. They've actually finally finished their 6-game road trip at 3-2-1. And coming out of that road trip with as many points as we did was definitely a positive sign going forward. I'm willing to write off that stinker against Arizona because they definitely got goalied and unfortunately ran into a slightly better prepared team in the New York Rangers in that 6-3 loss. So as it currently stands, it's good to see Mrazek getting some game time in and not stinking out the joint. It's also good to see Riley stepping up with a little bit of his old scoring flash.
As far as Arizona is concerned, that terrible 4-letter word, trap.
Always. Yeah, you have to be aware of this, right? Everybody poo-poos the idea of a trap game, but man, they exist.
Oh, trap. Montreal Canadiens. Avalanche top Canadiens 3-2 in OT. Montreal's been playing well. It's been difficult for them. They played better, but they lost this one.
Yeah, and Colorado is one of those teams that are very, very hard to beat on their home rink. That's their 15th straight win at home. So, home cooking never really hurt. Now, there was a bit of controversy at the end of the game. Colorado game audio was muffled, and it sounded like the announcer said the great gay Montreal Canadiens, but he actually said the game Montreal Canadiens, as in willing to go Montreal Canadiens. So there's that little bit of whoops.
We got to be careful nowadays, not only with what we say, but even with what we don't say. In Ottawa, this team has played quite well, has really put up a fight against some great teams. They haven't thrown out a stinker. They just thrown out a lot of games they couldn't win. And they lost to the Capitals, and they beat, of course, the Blue Jackets, and both very close games there. And they're keeping things close, which is what you want from a team for the fans who want their team to be competitive.
Especially for a team that's still developing and still young. They have a lot of parts that are just learning to mesh. But anytime you're playing Ovechkin, it's basically unfair. Much like Draisaitl and McDavid, he is a human cheat code. He just kind of casually potted 2 in the third period to, put the game away.
I think the most awful thing about that game were the jerseys that Washington were wearing.
I got news for you. Those jerseys are definitely not a W, if you know what I mean.
Never mind. All right. Winnipeg. The Penguins rally to beat the Jets 3-2 in the shootout.
Yeah, this one was interesting. The Penguins, of course, are tired. It's been a long road for them to hoe. Coming in against the Jets here. Kasperi Kapanen, Maple Leaf great Kasperi Kapanen, and Jeff Carter scored 9 seconds apart in the third period to erase the 2-goal deficit. And fittingly enough, Sidney Crosby was the only one to score a goal in the shootout.
And he rolled over the goaltender too.
Yeah, well, these things happen. Momentum, it's a thing. But yeah, I mean, the Penguins trailed for more than 40 minutes. I mean, they got down early and it looked like they had it locked away, but unfortunately, Winnipeg just couldn't seal the deal.
Yeah, too bad for Winnipeg. The Battle of Alberta, bragging rights of who sucks more between Edmonton and Calgary, and Draisaitl and company. They won. They won. They won. They won.
It's been, you know what, they haven't won since the previous year.
Oh
So
God.
that just oof, hadn't won in a month. It was good to see them finally get their first win in over a month. They hadn't actually won since beating Seattle on December 18th. Koskinen, often maligned, often mentioned as being one of them overpaid goalies, finally came through for them when they needed it. Perlini added a marker. Connor McDavid chipped in 2 assists. Now, on the other side of the coin, Kachuk, Lucic, and Hanifin replied for the Flames. Now, they're 3-8-1 in their last 12 games. So you got to kind of wonder, in a battle of the losers, who's the least loserish of the two. In this case, it was Edmonton.
Calgary. Anyway, all right. It's also important to note that the Canadian teams overall, except for Ottawa and Montreal, who have not played well from the beginning of the season, the Western Canadian teams, Vancouver, Edmonton, Calgary, have played or did play really well at the beginning of the season, and they have not handled the pandemic and the effects, I think, of the pandemic as well as some other teams have. Toronto's handled it fairly well. You know, they've been pretty consistent, even though their schedule looks like a mere shadow of its former self, right? And still, they're still not out of the playoffs. If you look at the standings, because they played so few games, and I refer to all 3 Western teams, they're in a lot better shape than the standings look like. But that's only because of how few games they had. So hopefully for our Canadian hockey fans, things can turn around for the teams in the West, because there's nothing that these guys out east, Aaron and Frank, would like more to see an all-Canadian Stanley Cup final.
Oh, my goodness. Wouldn't that be marvelous?
I'd want to have a seat beside Gary Bettman. That's what I'd like.
Oh,
How much beer do you think he'd drink? How much beer do you think he'd drink? Quite a bit, right?
I'd be willing to bet you'd learn a whole new bunch of words that started with the letter F.
Okay, Vancouver Canucks bring in a goalie, Spencer Martin. Tell us about it.
So yeah, they've actually kind of had to rejig a few things. Unfortunately, yeah, Spencer Martin has been added to the COVID protocols, as well as 2 assistant coaches. So things just aren't getting any better for Vancouver on that end. Demko just went down as well as Yaroslav Halak. They're already there. So it was Michael DiPietro, is the only goalie that was available to them when they started Sunday against the St. Louis Blues.
What was the goalie's name?
Goalie's name.
Ever heard of him?
Husso? No.
None
whatsoever.
I never heard of Husso.
Yeah, Husso stopped 38 shots as the Blues down the Canucks 3-1.
He's not a Zamboni driver, is he?
No, I don't think so.
No,
they're enjoying a bit of a resurgence, the Blues, at this point. So it's good for them,
Sorry to interrupt. I just couldn't help the jokes.
Yeah,
they've been very good. They've been very good. They're a very good team, and they have a lineup that looks really good. The biggest problem they've had is that it hasn't behaved on paper consistently. They have a really good team. They really do. Emile Castonguay has been named the Vancouver Canucks assistant general manager. Tell us about that.
Well, Emily Castonguay was actually one of the people that was on the short list for the Montreal Canadiens as well. And I believe someone had mentioned that she was going to be hired. The Habs obviously went with Mr. Hughes, and Emily fell to Vancouver Canucks. So Jim Rutherford announced that Emily had been named the assistant general manager, which is awesome. She's also the first female AGM in team history. She's joining the Canucks from Momentum Hockey, where she was the first female NHLPA certified agent. So that's really good. It's a huge step forward for her. She's got the skills, she's got the capability, she's got the hockey know-how. Here's hoping that she can do a little something to help turn around Vancouver's season.
If they can't make hire a female GM, this is the next best thing, Aaron, and it offers an opportunity for her to be in the limelight of the GM's office, even though assistant, but a lot of assistant GMs become full-time primary GM. So good luck to her. And it's a step forward, and more of those we hope in the future for other women that have spent time in the National Hockey League learning the business.
Most definitely. Glad for her. Very happy for her. Hopefully she can help guide Vancouver along with Jim Rutherford in the right direction.
Every so often, you and I have these discussions, and sometimes I seem to fall on the wrong side that you may fall on, where we kind of disagree a little bit. I'll see if this is one. Jacob Panetta, suspended indefinitely for a gesture, right?
Yeah.
A gesture. And he explained it as he was doing the muscle man gesture, right? Did you see his explanation?
I saw his explanation. I saw the footage.
I didn't see what happened in the game. Did you see what happened in the game?
There was some pushing and shoving after the whistle, and Jacob called Jordan a coward for hiding behind the referees. You chicken, you won't even fight me, even if there's a ref in between us. But you're big and brave, doing that whole muscle man thing, not realizing that it could be misinterpreted. Also, if you heard the crowd, I don't know if you saw one of the accompanying videos.
No, I didn't.
There were a lot of N-words coming out of the crowd at that particular game as well, too. So
that to me speaks to I don't think there was any intention on the kid's part. I'm going to say that because I don't know, just because I didn't hear anything that he did that deserves this kind of I guess you could say interpretation of his actions, and I'll say this. He's now on the radar. So, anybody in his life ever, right, is going to come forward if he's ever done anything racially motivated, right? You follow what I'm saying? And not only that, also, he's going to have to behave in the future to make sure he doesn't do anything that's even unintended. Because now, if he does something unintended again, then it becomes something. I'm taking this at the personal level, Aaron, of a human being. They're both human beings. Please do not misunderstand me. Subban is a human being, and he deserves to be treated like a human being and be respected. Now, if the lack of respect that's headed his way has nothing to do with race, and it's something that happens in hockey and is accepted, that's one thing. But if the behavior of Panetta is something that shouldn't be a part of hockey, regardless of race, then it should be taken out of hockey too. So this isn't just about race. This is about attitude. Like, you're not allowed to do the cutthroat thing, right? Aaron, why is that? Because that's a line, that's a bridge too far. That's what
that can technically be considered threats of violence. Yes.
Right.
Now, to put it into a certain context, for the longest time, an insult used to denigrate players of color would be to call them, just strictly for example purposes, folks, a monkey. The strongman pose, which Jacob Panetta claimed that he was doing, could also be confused with posing like a gorilla. It is not necessary for one to scratch one's head or scratch one's armpit. It is simply necessary to appear to have the upright stance of a silverback.
Yeah.
Now, and again, I don't believe there was any real, true malicious intent on Panetta's part, but you have to understand, as someone who is in the racial majority, it is not his right to determine what a minority deems offensive.
I could say the same thing's true on the other side too, though, Aaron. They can't decide what's racist.
As someone who is being insulted, I believe that they have the ability to determine that. For example, if someone were to come up to me as a Chinese player and say, "Hey, I lost my cat. What did you have for lunch?" That would be considered racist.
Why wouldn't
a player were to come up to me,
why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't it be? Why wouldn't it be?
Well, I'm just trying to give an example here.
All right.
If a player were to come up to me and slit his eyes like this, that would be considered racist.
But you do understand that you're giving examples that clearly, historically and socially, have been acts that have done that. You've also, in your own saying, said that it could be misinterpreted as, doing the the ape, the gorilla, the monkey gesture, right? Which is totally unacceptable, because you and I both know that that is racist. And then that is what referring to a human being as an animal is wrong, which is why I posted something today that basically said, we now have to be careful who we call an animal on the ice, don't we? Yeah, we've been doing it for years. You've done it.
Referring to someone as an animal, I think as a general rule is acceptable. However, tying it with negative racial stereotypes is not.
Again, as I said, if you make a statement based not on a person's color of their skin, that you would say to someone in the same position you would say it to a white person, and you say it to a black person with no intent whatsoever to humiliate or demean them, then you have to look at it in that regard. And punishment should reflect that fact, because you cannot treat somebody who throws a banana at somebody the same way somebody says something else that has nothing to do with direct insult. So that's my point. And sometimes it's all or nothing, Aaron. And what I'm saying, there needs to be some measured response, right? So in this case, I disagree with you, because it's clear he didn't mean it. It's clear that what he did was insensitive. That is totally true. That's where you're right. We have a responsibility as human beings to be sensitive to other people's feelings. But we should all, and that is me, somebody who was laughed at as a kid because what I had for lunch. I was called the W word. I was called the initials DP. I was called all those things. But I have to also accept the fact that I can't become a hammer looking for nails. And that's the problem that I see in this. It's the same problem we always have, that we jump to punishment not equal to the crime. And that to me is discriminatory in itself. So
well, I thought it was interesting that one of the reporters in a press conference with PK just asked, well, how far can one go before you draw the line? Which to me is basically asking, how racist can I be? Can I be just a little bit racist?
I agree with I agree with your feeling a little. It's kind of stupid, that question, but then I will write it off to Aaron. It's how we as people talk. It is how we have a conversation. And a conversation is not dictation. A conversation is Aaron and Frank each have their opinion. And hopefully both Aaron and Frank listen to what they're saying so that they can arrive at a conclusion and understanding. Now, to put that in a broader sense, as a society, we have a responsibility to ensure that we don't jump to conclusions. And while jumping, I had a guy, a radio guy on the fan who blocked me because he would automatically call out groups of people and blame people for things. One, it turned out that a gay man in his van or pickup truck ran into gay people and killed them. Turned out he was gay. Turned out he had an accident, and everybody knew he didn't do it on purpose. But his opinion continued. And I asked him, so now what do you say about this? And then another thing happened where there was an accusation. The media jumped and called it racism. You remember the two incidents I'm talking about, because they all happened within about a week. And he claimed racism, and he went on his rant, which he does. This is a guy who grew up, rich, knew what it was like to live the high life. And now he's decided he understands what it feels like to be in the minority. So I respect what you're saying because you've lived through it. Why do I respect it? Because I've lived through it. But the kind of people who there are, as you know, who assume the pain of others just as an excuse to be able to attack others, those people I don't respect at all. And that to me is disgusting. Anybody who says or does anything like you explained to you, they would hear it from me. And I would hope you would hear it. They would hear it from you too. So what that guy did, this kid did, was wrong tomorrow. But when he did it, he didn't realize it was wrong, and he never intended it that way. But now I think, and this is where the sensitivity comes in, Aaron, now people have to be made aware of that you can't make somebody feel like an animal. Don't treat people like an animal. And that's So sorry
Yeah,
about the rant, but that's the thing that
nope.
bothers me is that we jump
I
to conclusions sometimes.
I perfectly understand it, and I think Jordan Subban's reaction to it definitely, definitely clued him into the fact that, yeah, perhaps he'd crossed the line and gone a little bit too far on that.
But you can't blame Jordan. You can't blame black people for
No,
finding.
no.
Nobody here is saying that. I'm not saying that, and I know that's the point you were trying to make, is that we can't judge how other people feel things. That's the point you were trying to make, and I respect that 100%. But I also think we should also not judge what people intend if what they're doing doesn't really cross the line, and then we drag it over the line. That's my beef. That's my beef. If I made myself clear.
No, I think you've made yourself very clear. Eloquently done as always, Frank. Thank you.
Oh, eloquently. Hey, you don't get paid here, so you're not losing anything if you don't get called back. So I wouldn't throw that kind of crap out. But thank you for I'll take the compliment. I'll be a big man and take the compliment. Aaron, as usual, thank you for this.
Thank you, Frank.
All right. For Aaron William Freeland, I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching Candid Frank Live, Aaron, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Network. For Candid Frank Live and other news, entertainment, and sports programming we offer, please check out spanglishworld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Ciao for now.